In this coming week, we have 3 times Eicha. Once here in the parshas devorim, the Torah reading of the week, where Moshe Rabbeinu states, Eicho esol avadi torchachem masachem v'rivchem. Rashi says that Moshe is correct in his assessment. Rashi says, Malamed shoyu tarchonim, balei riv. The Jewish people are nudniks. They make you crazy. I remember when I was in charge of the OU kashrus, so a mashgiach called me up once, 2 in the morning, and he said I didn't want to bother you in the office. So Moshe is right. Torchachem, masachem, v'rivchem. Tough people. Yet the Meforshim state that Moshe's Eicha is, so to speak, improper. It's justified, but it's improper, because it leads to other Eichas. If individually, this is an individual Eicha, personal Eicha. If individually a person gives up on the Jewish people, even for a minute, even temporarily, if he sees only the negative in them, so then that has ramifications, especially if the person is leader of the people or representative of Torah to the Jewish people. And the Meforshim point out that this Eicha of Moshe is not in line with everything else that he says in the parsha. The pasuk before, Yosef Hashem Aleichem Kochem Elef Pomim V'Yivorech Eschem Kasher Diber Lachem. And then he says Eicha. So when we read the Torah on Shabbat, we don't read to the end of this first parsha, because we don't want to begin the Aliyah for Levi with Eicha. So the 2 psukim go together, right? Yosef Hashem Aleichem Kochem Elef Pomim. May God increase you 1,000 times, and may He bless you, and may every goodness befall you, and you are a terrible people. So that ambivalence towards the Jewish people, which I think is present in all generations, certainly prevalent in our generation. It's hard to find in the Jewish world people that think that we're all right. Everybody can point out Torchachem, Masachem, V'Rivchem. So from the left to the right, from the Neturei Karta to Shalom Achshav, everybody's got something to say. And everybody says the same thing, Torchachem, Masachem, V'Rivchem. And therefore, Eicho esol avadi. How can I take it? You know, the old joke about the New York waiter that came over to 3 Jewish ladies that were eating in the restaurant, and he said, "Is anything all right?" That's us. So again, if you hear the radio or you read the newspaper, both of which, thank God, I have weaned myself from, so it's depressing. And that personal depression has an effect on society, has an effect on every individual. So no one sees anything good. If no one sees anything good, then there's no enthusiasm for the good. The Haftorah, the Novi Yeshayahu, says, Eicha hoiso lezona kirya nemona. How can our society look the way it looks? So Yeshaya is also right. But the Meforshim point out, this is the first chapter in Yeshayahu. In the 6th chapter of Yeshayahu, which is the Haftorah of Yisro, where he sees his vision of heaven and where he is inaugurated, so to speak, to become a Navi. So there, he says, how can I be the Navi? Ish tmeis v'sayim anochi. I am somebody of impure lips. Uvesoch am tvei society. And I live in a society that is desolate and unholy. So it says, the moment he said that, the Malach flew at him in his vision with a hot coal and burned his lips for saying that, even though what he said was true. But you're not supposed to say it. That's not the job. The Novi will say that we will hear this week's Haftorah many harsh things. And the Novi is there to chastise the Jewish people. But the Novi himself cannot say to himself, Eicha. He cannot accept that. And if he does, so then we have again the same difficulty, that it's very impossible to be able to rise from such a situation. So it's very easy in our time. There is unfortunately many instances here where we could say, Eicha hoiso lezona. The state of morality, of decency, of probity has been very badly compromised in our time by the values of modern society. And it's not only us, it's the whole world. There's almost no place where, that's safe from it. So the statement is a valid statement. But again, that it, just as Moshe's Eicha leads to problems, because the personal Eicha becomes reflected in society. So the societal Eicha becomes reflected in the nation as a whole, in the Jewish people. And therefore, in the Megillas Eicha that we read, in the Navi Yirmiyah, Eicha Yashva Bodod, how could it be that this has happened to us? So when we look over Jewish history a little, you don't have to be a a great historian. You don't have to know dates and places. We just have a general idea. How could this have happened? Why? Why were we singled out, even now, that we should be Buddha? So that's a legitimate question. So therefore, that leads to a complete lack of self-identity and of self-confidence, and that really is the root cause of assimilation and the loss of Jewishness and Jewish generations. In our world today, if you want to be Jewish, you have to want to be Jewish. There was a time when that was not necessarily so. The world would make you Jewish. The non-Jewish world would make you Jewish. If you wanted to be Jewish, so to speak, it was easier, because there were negative forces that impacted upon a person to make sure that the person would be Jewish. But in our time, when you can be whatever you want to be, and completely melt away in whatever society you wish to, and there's almost no outside pressure. In fact, the outside pressure, if anything, is the other way. So then you have to want to be. And that is a difficult challenge, because that requires faith and knowledge and education and family and tradition. It requires a support system. So when you say that the Navi decries the destruction of Yerushalayim, is because the support system of the Jewish people was destroyed. And the Beis HaMikdash was a support system. The Jewish kingdom was a support system. And now all of that is gone. So Chazal created an alternate support system through Torah and the study of Torah, through tradition, through custom. But that support system is also dependent only if we want it to be the support system, if we choose it to be. So we have these three times Eicha: the personal, the societal, and the national, each one of which has tremendous influence upon us, and each one of which is present in our generation and our time as well. And therefore, the Meforshim point out that the original Eicha is the word Ayeko, which God asked Adam Arishon, Ayeko, where are you? So that remains, that's the question that remains today. Ayeko, where are you? Who are you? What are you? How do you see it? So in these days of commemoration of what has happened to us, we should re-intensify our efforts to be able to answer the question of Ayeko properly, and to be able to overcome the challenges of Eicha. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashi Omer Rotz HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Es Yisrael L'ficha Chirbo Lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar Adonai Chazayik Siman Tzidko Yagil Torah V'Yadir
Iskadel Iskadesh Mei Rabba.